worship you. Change me, oh God. Make me more like you. Change me, oh God. Wash me through and through. Just create in me a clean heart, so that I may worship you. I need you to change me. Jesus, change me like only you can, Lord. Change me. Is anybody out there need the Lord to change something about you? Change me. Whatever's not like you, Lord, I want you to change me. Do it for me, Lord. I dare you to just put your hands on yourself. Lord, I want you to change me like only you can, Lord. Change me. Can y'all help me say it? It's easy. I need you to. Oh, come on, say it like you mean it. Change me. Whatever's not like you, Lord, I want you to. From the inside out, Lord. Oh, a little change. I need you to change me. Or you can say it, change me. I need a change. Change this mind of mine, Lord. Change my mouth, Lord. Wonderful change. Y'all remember this? Has come over me. God. Make me more like you. Change me, oh God. Wash me through and through. Create in me a clean heart, so that I may worship you. Change me, oh God. Make me more like you. Change me, oh God. Wash me through and through. Just create in me a clean heart, so that I may worship you. I need you to change me. Jesus, change me like only you can, Lord. Change me. Is anybody out there need the Lord to change something about you? Change me. Whatever's not like you, Lord, I want you to change me. Do it for me, Lord. I dare you to just put your hands on yourself. Lord, I want you to change me like only you can, Lord. Change me. Can y'all help me say it? It's easy. I need you to. Oh, come on, say it like you mean it. Change me. Whatever's not like you, Lord, I want you to. From the inside out, Lord. Oh, a little change. I need you to change me. Or you can say, change me. I need a change. Change this mind of mine, Lord. Change my mouth, Lord. Wonderful change. Y'all remember this? Has come over me. Oh, Time heals all things, and I know that I felt some type of way before, but I slowly feel it shifting at my heart. Scars are fading, and the ghosts from the past don't haunt me anymore. The storm and rain washed away the pain that I endure. Just as the sun will rise each morning, just like the day returns to night without our sin. I'm finally trusting in the knowing, ooh, that time heals all things. Time heals all things. It's worth waiting for. Seasons changing, new roads to explore. Now I can feel the ground beneath me. I walk a path and it appears with steps I take. Maybe one day things will come easy. What if the struggles placed were just to test my strength? 'Cause the pressure's on, I know a change is coming. It's getting late, grace, wrap your arms around me. Sure as the sun will rise each morning, sure as the day returns to night without our sin. I'm finally trusting in the knowing, oh, that time heals all things. Time heals all things. It's worth waiting for. Seasons changing, oh, but time heals all things.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. So happy to have you here with us. Let's see, we are home at about 6. Why don't we, yeah, I'm gonna give you all a sneak peek. so you can meditate. Let's run that last song, Tasha, back real quick. But our guiding question this morning, oh, let me find it so I can state it correctly, is actually kind of threefold. I want you to think about your spiritual gift. I want you to think about what you've been gifted with in this world, the thing that might seem that it comes so easy that you might dismiss it, not even realizing that it's a gift, but something that you've been blessed with, something that you do and know that you do it well. I want you to think about that. The question is, what parts of you must engage for you to feel fully aware? What parts of you must engage for you to feel fully aware? And the third part is, what spiritual armor do you engage to protect your awareness? What spiritual armor do you engage to protect your awareness? So let's meditate on those things. Tasha, if you'll run that Guapole song back one more time, and we'll give some folks some time to join the space. And if not, then it'll be us and we'll keep rocking. Okay, yeah, bear with us for a little bit. Tasha's having a little bit of internet difficulty, but hopefully we'll get up and running in a second.
Time heals all things, and I know that I felt some type of way before, but I slowly feel it shifting and
Good morning, Spirit Rising family. Again, happy Sunday. I'm pretty sure the sun is out and that at least in St. Louis, much of the rain has stopped because yesterday, my gosh, and I just want to call this out because there was a lot happening yesterday. I'm going to say this several times again today, but there was a lot happening yesterday, and I'm not one that says, things like like the devil is trying to interrupt, and that wasn't nothing but the devil. That's just not my terminology. However, if ever there was a time, if ever there was a moment to suggest that perhaps the enemy may be forming, utilizing the same thing that God has to God's advantage against things that are necessary to happen, that rain yesterday might have been it. There were protests all across St. Louis and in this region as well as across the nation. And yet, there was a torrential downpour for most of the day. But here's when we always get to say, but God, because there were people standing outside in the rain with umbrellas, with ponchos, with raincoats, with galoshes, with rain boots, all the things that needed to happen in order to consistently and collectively say absolutely no to what we see happening in this world, to say no to this authoritative. You know what I'm trying to say. That word. I can't get that AIN coming out my mouth today. But there are people that collectively said it does not matter what the weather is doing because this cause is so much more important. It doesn't matter if the sun is out or if the rain is out, possibly sleet or snow. We're going to come out because we need to show up for each other. We need everyone to see that we are all here and invested in this together. We're going to show up and we're going to show out anyway. And that is so necessary and so important. Um, I don't imagine that if it were a life or death situation that you wouldn't run out of your burning house into the rain. And realistically, that is what we are facing. Our house is burning. The home that we live in is burning, and we have to run out to stop it, no matter what the weather. So, welcome again to Spirit Rising, a place, a salon for the soul, a place where we come together to commune and fellowship and share the wisdom that we bring on our collective or individual journeys to the collective, that we might better understand our placement in this universe, in this world, and better understand the way that God is working in our lives, to better understand and interpret even how God is showing up in our hearts, in our bodies, in our spirit. We are happy to have everyone in this space for some interesting conversation, I hope, for today. Last week, Carolyn took us to the responsibility of our own frequency. What does it look like to own that? And the concept of frequency and responsibility stayed with me. And then I thought about impact. I thought about impact. When you walk into a room and you feel somebody else's impact, right? When somebody is just acting, I'm not even gonna say acting, they may not have even opened their mouth. They feel ugly in a way that impacts you. They feel a kind of way that shifts the energy of the world. Some people just have big energy, and that's okay. When we can transmute energy for the betterment of all, it's great. But some people just shut it down. Like the negative Nancy's, the Debbie Downers. Some people are just impactful in a way that makes you feel tired and sluggish. It makes you feel whatever it is that you don't even know they got going on. And yet it's impacting you. So beyond just the responsibility of the frequency or our frequency, we've got to be aware of the impact of ourself, of the space that we take up and of our spirit. And that is both internal and external. And that's what we're going to chat about today. For those that were here for the sneak preview, that's why I asked you to consider those questions in the orders that we considered them. But as soon as I pray us in, I will offer the driving questions to the whole. if you will allow me. Mother, Father, the Creator, we are so happy and blessed once again to be in this space, in this container with each other. We're so grateful for you, for your presence, for your vastness, for the hold that you have on wisdom and love and life and light, that it might always pour out and pour in to us, through us, with us, and around us. We are grateful for all of the well and uplifted ancestors that might show up and show out today. We always appreciate the way that you help us to better discern and understand the messages and downloads we get in this space. We ask that you continue to guide and direct us, hold us, and secure us, protect us as we wafer through the many lessons that may come to us. We ask for protection over all those who are more firmly grounding their heels in the true direction of justice, justice for all, not just for some. Those that are standing on the front lines, on the back lines, and between lines, in the businesses, in the offices, in the courtrooms, to help guide us back towards a better democracy. I'm not going to say the greatest, but a better democracy, one that we can live in, that we feel is thriving and growing for everyone, one that does not make us afraid about what might be coming tomorrow. This and all the things that may be on the hearts and minds of those present, we ask in honor of the Most High. Ashe and amen. Okay. More questions. I asked those that were present before to consider their spiritual gifts, the thing about them that they were blessed with. And this blessing might be your sight, and I don't mean like literal vision, but the way that you see things. It might be the way that you interpret things. It might be the way that you do a particular thing. It might be the way that you cook. It might be the way that you listen. It might be the way that you hold space. It could be the way that you paint. Momo likes to twerk. It could be a whole lot of different things. But what were you gifted with? What is the thing that allows you to tap into connectivity with others and in the world? What is your spiritual gift? And I'm asking that because I wonder about your awareness. What parts of you must you engage to feel fully aware? What parts of you must you engage to feel fully aware? And thirdly, what spiritual armor do you engage to protect that awareness? What spiritual armor do you engage to protect your awareness? It is in the chat. Your awareness of the world. We're going to talk about what awareness is in a moment, but your general awareness. I'm drinking orange mango today. Okay. And if that extra 4.5 minutes to ponder this wasn't enough, you can always tell me where Spirit showed up for you this week, or where you might need Spirit to show up for you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sally.
Um, I think my spiritual gift is being able to open myself to those who are hurt, especially young people who are hurt, and be that soft place for them to land.
Mhm.
And then you asked the second question. What was the second question about the armor?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I ran through them, and I was like, first one I thought was like, okay, the breastplate of righteousness, but
Uh-huh.
it depends on how people come at me. Uh, so sometimes it's the helmet because of what I'm hearing
Mm,
that affects me. Um, but I can really do without negativity
mm-hmm.
and hypocrisy. Those are my two. And if I can, I'll say avoid them, but um, my dog is bothering me right now. I think she's feeling my energy. Come here, Pookie. I'm sorry. Come here. Um, but yeah, the learning how to not allow that to define me or stop me from what I do. I'm not sure how that works yet.
Mm-hmm.
And there are times when I do, and I'm able to right away. Um, I mean, I've had people tell me, I walked into a gas station and this guy started laughing. And I was like, why are you laughing? So I went to check out. I said, why were you laughing? He said, because you walk in here all times of day and night, and you walk in here like you ain't going to take no shit from nobody. And I said, as a 5'2 3/4" woman, height wise, I don't have much of a choice but to do that. You know, people see short people or short black women and think, oh, here's a woman. Like, no, if I don't carry myself that way, then I get all kinds of junk and I don't need the junk. So, yeah. So, yeah.
Sally, it is the 3/4 inch for me. You better hold on to every possible
That's right, because that's how
part of
tall I am.
yourself. I love
Truly.
opening yourself up to those who are hurting, and being a soft place to land is an amazingly beautiful gift. I imagine that there are more with you, particularly around your level of vulnerability. And perhaps all of those are intertwined and go together. You have this thing that allows you to share earnestly and candidly, that allows people to see themselves more clearly and open. And that may be part of that opening of self and a soft place to land thing that, initially I might see as different, but may be woven together. But we are grateful for that gift of you. Um, I hope that we get a chance to talk because I hope that we jump into Ephesians. We'll see if we get there. If not, I'm probably still going to try to bullet point what I was thinking. I want us to re-envision the armor of God, and the way that we see that, not just as something of like actual armor that protects us and prevents us from taking hits, but also how do we transmute that? How do we utilize this in a right now real time world? What do those things mean today? So, um, yes, all of those things. Other people, spiritual gifts. What parts of you must you engage to feel fully aware? Or maybe not you engage. What parts of you feel engaged when you feel fully aware of everything that's happening, good, bad, and indifferent? What parts of you are engaged? And what spiritual armor do you put on to protect your awareness? Other thoughts?
Wow. Good morning.
Good morning, Mama Love.
Oh, you take us there in such profound ways. When I was thinking about the gifts and how to protect them, what came up for me was this compassion, and as Sally said, this empathy for others, and just opening up and being a sounding board. Another gift that I could say I'm aware of is this gift of listening, and listening beyond what the words say, but also what the body, what's behind the words. the emotions. Um, yeah. And when I was younger and more able, the gift of help,
Mhm.
being able to be of service to others in a myriad ways. Um, yeah. And how do I protect them? Just, I did think about the breastplate to protect my heart because sometimes people can come with so much that it can be more than I can take on, because I am not their little g God, and people will sap your energy and use you up if you don't protect that gift of compassion and empathy and wanting to help and be of service to. Um, and there was another question. What parts of you must you engage for you to feel fully aware? You know, I, my ears. I have to protect my ears. A lot of distracting noise.
Mm,
So I love silence. Um, I also love good music. I love uh, the healing music, the frequency of the sound bowls and the bells, uh,
mm.
meditation and prayer. Yeah, just off the cuff. It's something that I'll have to sit with all week and really contemplate. But thank you for that exploration and excavation of our gifts, our spiritual gifts.
I'm going to work backwards. Mama Love, thank you. Thank you definitely for calling out health and the ability to help others as a gift. Um, that didn't enter my mind. Um, and now I'm working myself thinking about, a gift versus a blessing. Um, but it doesn't matter. Whatever has been bestowed upon us, right? Right. Whatever that we can utilize, that we've been made available to. So, in that sense, absolutely, and I can see it being a gift, especially in times when I mean, every time I get stuffy, be it allergies or a cold, I think of the blessing of being able to breathe. So every single time, and I remind myself when I can take a deep breath, like, okay, girl, you got both nostrils working, okay, because it ain't always like this. I'm not always able, and I think more than just the health part, it is the things that we are able to do that may come by way of health, but also you mentioned to be able to be of service, right? Like that ability to be able to. I think is the gift or what is grounding the gifts and or the blessing, and then to work backwards, because both you and Sally A mentioned like empathy and compassion, and in my mind I'm like that's crazy. Are these gifts? Because to me, these should be human basics, right? But in the world that we're living in, I guess they're not. And maybe if we treated them more as gifts of God, as gifts of humanity, we would treasure them more. We would tend to them more if we recognized that empathy and compassion is nourishment for the soul, but also necessary food for community. If we treated it as the sacred gift instead of just something that should be given freely, because I guess that's how we got here to entitlement. You two both raising that as a spiritual gift is a different realm than I thought we might go. But I'm loving the importance of it and the divinity in that. Um, the greatest of all is love, right? Carolyn, them
Can you hear me, community?
Yes, ma'am.
Yay, so
Good
glad
morning.
for that. Um, my gift is attunement to soul and feeling my soul and and really attuning to the soul of others,
Mm,
which is just the deeper dimension of the others being, including their longings and dreamings. And my gift is that I remember in this lifetime, I
mm,
remember a more beautiful and ennobling and soulful way of being community together. Like I actively remember that. And that's my standard. I I live in that knowing of who we can be. And I think because I feel it so deeply in me that I help others to recognize that they feel it too. That
mm.
they also remember a piece of this more beautiful, joyful, soulful, connected way of being. So my gift is that I remember that and that I feel it and I help others feel it as well. And I'm celebrating as I arrived this morning. I just got off the phone with my nephew who's graduating from college in engineering. And he's someone that feels it. And he calls me to talk about his soul and what it's going to take for him to keep his heart open as a man.
Mm.
And it touches me so deeply to get to have a nephew like that who speaks soul and asked me to send him a bunch of things that I've written about the path of soul. So just celebrating that as I arrive here. So glad to be with you all.
So happy to celebrate with you. And that, Joyce, I mean, graduating from anything is a beautiful thing. Any accomplishment, anytime you have run a process, fully feels good and empowering, like you can do whatever is next on the agenda. So, congratulations to that. And what a beautiful introspective questioning to engage regularly. How can I remain this type of compassionate as a man in this world? How can I hold on to this beauty that I know to be true, that I know inherently is possible, and that we need more of? How do I keep this here? So not just the introspection part of it, but the willingness to go beyond self and discuss it. How beautiful is that? And to be a part of that conversation. Um, yes, that's just a wonderful thing. I'm tripped up again. I'm not tripped up. I'm thoughtfully excited about these words because you said I live in the knowing of who we can be, the remembering. And again, I'm hearing this connection, this lexicon between able and an ability, or this capacity and ability, the capacity to and the activation of. I know that I'm able and I can. I know that it's possible and I will. I've seen it happen before. This is the remembering that you're calling out as a gift, but there's something in these two words that are hanging in us. And I don't know if anybody else is hearing this, but there's something in these two words that keep popping up for us about possibility, expansiveness, this inherent knowingness of good divinity and sacredness and godliness that we can see, this envisioning, this picture that is plausible, that we all have a stake in, and our willingness to activate it, to set it in motion, to create some momentum behind it, some movement, some development. There's something here in that. I'm sure more of it will come out, but there's something about this state of being and this sense of becoming that we keep calling out, that keeps rising to the surface, that is grounded, it seems, in our spiritual gifts, but also is fueling how we seek to protect them. I'm going someplace here with this. I don't know where it is going, but we're going someplace with this. Mo, come on, but this is going somewhere.
Okay, so it's kind of not gonna make complete sense. So yeah, you be interweaving, so you get it. Okay, so I feel like my power is kind of like an eight-sided like polygon. Like I use the word prism a lot because it's kind of not binary. Like the same thing that my gifts are can also be the same thing that's like protective. And like some of those things would be like I have the ability to shed and die and reemerge. And like I have a tattoo like on my arm that says metamorphose. It's like this metamorphosis that happens and it's like really obscene and rough. But then I also have the power of like sensitivity that helps move me into creation. And then I also am able to like dive deep. But the prism and the lights help me know how to get back home to self. And then I have the gift of being really bright and fearless. So like this could look like kids like staring at me on the street or like cats coming up to me. Like I just randomly pet a cat like a few minutes ago. And just I guess like it's also just like the curiosity kind of like the curiosity is there. And I just imagine like you know like those little window things that like the light shines through. It's like that. And then my work is to, while absorbing can be okay, absorbing, I need the space to alchemize what's happening. Because again, it's like nothing's binary. Like everything that could be like hurtful, it actually like helps me. Like I'm able to regurgitate that out and make art and then teach other people like how to move through it. And I think if I had to like have a boost, like if I was in a video game, I think like the boost that I would want to kill like the boss would be energy, like an energy drink, or like Sailor Moon, like when she transforms into a different outfit, that would help like replenish the labor that it takes to shed and re-die and rebirth. Yeah.
I am holding on to move me into creativity. Everything that you said took something that could otherwise be stagnant and made it dynamic. Um, Things that could sit on a shelf and literally gave them life. Your first concept of a prism, but then to talk about, well, you're saying prism, I'm seeing sides, but then I'm also thinking about facets. I'm thinking of facets of personality. Even Sally earlier said when she talked about putting on part of the armor, she said, well, it depends on who I'm engaging with, right? Because this helmet might be to keep something from falling on my head, but it also might be because I need to run into yours. Okay, there are two sides to all these coins, and you're talking about the multiplicity of engagement, right? And you said it. You said to dive deep, move me into creativity. I can go deep. Everything that you said has um again. There's this action to it. There's this activity to it. Um even the alchemizing of because you could have said like that you recognize it as alchemy, but you didn't. There's something about this. Again, there's this action. There's something here that is happening between recognizing the beauty of light and looking at that light through a prism, which makes it go in a bunch of different directions. Are you hearing the movement here? Like there's something in and what we know that we contain and how it's being utilized, how it is helping us to become, but also to help form and help others form the self. And I'm not just talking about the individual self. Now we're getting to kind of the collective, the communal self, right? How we are actively building, we're putting these pieces together in such a way that our arms have joints, right? That these pieces are connecting, so there's movement here, so that there's flow. It's not just a Barbie doll, right, where it looks like there's an elbow but it doesn't do anything. These joints move. We can swim, right? We can flow, and it is, again, it is the ability to see through. You mentioned light several times and how that guides you home, but it also gives you the ability to help others see light to help them get home. Again, there's action here. There's something here in this awareness space where we're saying that awareness is not just um, a past tense thing, but it is an active thing. It is alive. It is growing. It is moving. Awareness is not something that just happens at a particular point, but it is ongoing, right? It is consistent cycles that are occurring. Our awareness requires consistent engagement of the self and of what's around us, good, bad, and indifferent. I said we were going to talk about the self, the spirit, and impact, and this impact isn't a noun. In this space, we're talking about a verb. Go ahead, Delisha.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I feel like I have lots of gifts. I feel really obsessed with the combination of who I am. Love all my parts. And I feel like there's like the dreamer in me. I have like a deep sense of curiosity. I love to learn. I love to love. But when I wrote this down, the first thing that came up is something that I'm gonna take a leap of faith and talk it out, and y'all gonna let me know if I need to reframe or not. The first thing that I wrote that came to heart was naive. And this is something I have been called most of my life. People have called me very naive and have meant it in an insult. And but there's a way that I really appreciate that I genuinely do feel like things are working out, or I do trust, or I do feel like things could simply change in a different direction. There's a way where I feel not as affected by. I was just looking at the definition trying to understand. It was saying like naive is like not affected or not aware of like the worldly ways. And I do feel like I'm aware of it, but I feel really grateful that I could have gone a totally different path given my circle of upbringing. And there's a way where I have not felt as affected by some of the larger myths and narratives that people are pushing so hard against. And there I appreciate that I feel simple in a certain way, that I don't understand why we can't love many people. I don't understand why it like we can't, like there is not, we can't believe that there's enough for all of us. I don't understand why, like there's a um yeah. And so I don't know, people have made it seem like you're gonna get taken advantage of, but I have felt like walking through world, trusting people, trusting that people are genuinely trying to do good to me or not trying to hurt me, that people genuinely want to connect, has led for a very magical, I'd be having some magical experiences. Um, so yeah, I think the part of me that so yeah, and okay, so then I also looked up what was the original definition of it, and it said like genuine and native. And so yeah, I'm trying to think about the ways words get shifted and get used against us, and how people use a word against you, but also seeing this like there is a really optimistic, morally idealistic perspective of me that just feels like we're gonna figure this shit out. It's just a matter of us like taking the steps towards it. And I think that like belief and faith in humanity, um, and in the world and in the universe as like steering us towards that direction, feels really good to me. I think the thing that I need to, what was the way you phrased it? Parts of me must engage me to fully be aware, is the ways that I have learned to be self-protective by like closing off. I think like releasing that a bit more, even though because it feels like people keep like for such a since I was young, it's like you're a crybaby, people are gonna take advantage of you. You're naive, people are gonna take advantage. So all these ways where you're just like, well, I guess like you're finding yourself in these tense points. But I think leaning deeper into it and releasing the ways I have learned to protect myself and believing that there are other ways that I am protected, that doesn't require me like covering and putting on a shell and being closed off, which feels harder in this particular time period, but also feels like you need it even more to be more open. Um, and the spiritual armor for me is like surrounding myself by other people who are dreamers, other people who are idealistic, other people who are optimists, other people who don't feel like you have to earn trust, but they just give trust freely. Other people who like you don't have to crack their shell open, they're just open and they're just like wanting to love and engage. And I will just say, last night I went to an event, a masculine storytelling event. Rebecca was there, Tess was there, and it was so beautiful to hear these men, after going through this like 10-week circle period, get up on stage and tell all these stories of masculinity to them, and to hear how much violence these men have experienced, and how much they have I mean, like, men just being like, I am a crier. I used to cry when Frosty melted at the end of the movie and people made fun of me, and I shut that down, and then I ended up being super violent. Or I knew really young that I was queer and my people shut that down, and so I ended up becoming really violent. Or I'm a hugger, and I could only time that I was okay to hug was when I was drunk, and so then I became an alcoholic. And all these different ways where it's just hearing people come back to their full self, come back to these open, tender, loving people, to say like, I can cry, I can love, I can be queer, I can hug, I can all these things. I choose to surround myself and believe in that world, um because there's so much, especially on the internet, there's so much that's trying to push a particular narrative of the world that just makes us want to believe that, like, you can't be open, you can't be naive, you have to be so guarded. So that, being surrounded by spaces like that where I'm like, no, people are learning to trust and be open automatically, and not having to like make people jump through hoops to get that from each other, really solidifies my belief in the way that I have been gifted to see the world.
I love that so much. Um, I'm saying I wish I had known about the gathering tomorrow. I mean, yesterday, but um, it was squishy outside last night, so I wasn't leaving the house. But but I'm so excited to hear more of that. I imagine that it was, I could hear how beautiful it was, and I'm thinking about, like, again in my head, I'm like, no, that's some self-awareness, like, to be able to take some things that have become maladaptive in our life and see where they're rooted, and the lessons um, that they've been rooted in, and to witness that. Because again, if I can see it in you, then I know it's possible for me. And since you have already on that side, and I'm gonna come back to that, but already on the side of choosing to believe, your presence is already there. The rest of it is just how do you activate it. I, like you, have been called naive for a lot of my life, and I kept thinking like, no. Um, because at least the way you say it to me sounds like I have no skin in the game, like I have no choice. And as you were talking, I was like, naivete plus choice equals optimism, and then you got to the word optimism in there, and I'm decidedly so, right? And then you mentioned things like simplicity, abundance, faith, and I was like, these are the activators. These are the things that take the thing, the noun. I'm gonna use these words because I haven't worked them out, but to take that noun and turn them into a verb, right? To take what we're talking about, these concepts of awareness and the parts of us that we're aware of, and turn them into something that is embodied movement for our lives, and that's the awareness that we're looking for. That's the awareness, once we get to the embodied movement, where we can assess the impact. You went someplace and watched men who did the self-reflection or the self-awareness and the spiritual awareness, and got to their impact, the impact of others on them, action, the impact that they're having on others, impact, and began to put some different things in motion. That's where we are. Awareness in this sense is an action word. It is something that we are doing, something that we're a part of, but it is fluid movement. And now we're seeing all of these different ways that it can be activated, not just by looking at the self or the experience, but honoring all of the parts of us, which brings me back to the very first thing that you said that was dope as hell. I wrote it down verbatim. You said, I am obsessed with the combination of who I am. What? What? May we all be so blessed. May we all be so blessed. I am obsessed with the combination of who I am. Absolutely. Ashe. Rebecca.
Hey, thank you. Hello, Spirit Rising family. Delisha, I was, when you started off and said, I'm sort of reclaiming this, I am naive, and that is a gift. It made me think about how Curtis opened yesterday when he said, "Hi, my name is Curtis and I'm a crier." Right. And for most of my life, this is this this label has been used in a derisive way, and I'm sort of reclaiming that. And so your framing of naivete, your reframing of naivete made me think of that. And it was wonderful to be with you and Tess and others from our community last night. What are my gifts? Well, like Delisha, they are, and like each and every one of us, they are manyfold. But the things that come most to heart and mind are I weave community, and I do so in lots of different settings, and that weaving allows for those within the community to access and experience um, deeper levels of their agency and authenticity and power. I channel wisdom. And so, and I do that in a way that supports people in believing and acting on what is at the essence, at the heart of themselves. I'm deeply curious about the workings of soul and committed to that path in life. And that curiosity is highly attractive to others. And it helps to activate their own curiosity about what lies at the heart of them. I exist at the intersections of liberation and healing and spiritual growth, and am fundamentally the creative and generative force of life experiencing and expressing itself. And there are lots of gifts with that. So those are some of the gifts, and I've heard echoes and versions of that through all of our conversations today. Though the language and framing that I use is distinctly my own. I think the substance has been described through lots of different people today, and I am not surprised in any way by that. Because of that old adage that birds of a feather, right? Birds of a feather. What is interesting about what you called armor protections, on the surface, they feel oppositional, but they are not. So community is a form of armor for me. Is a form of protection because I get to be in the thickness of relationship, and the thickness of relationship often has more resource, more capacity, more competence than I often think of I have. And so there's sort of layers of protection that come from being in meaningful community. It's dense and it's thick, and it can hold the line when I need it to. I'm gonna be late by 20 minutes. So community is a protection, real community. And it's a reminder of what wholeness, it's a representation of wholeness, the wholeness that lives in me, with me, through me, for me, and as me. And then lastly, what feels like the opposite is solitude. It too is a protection for me. Because so much of how I'm called to be is in relationship. And the solitude gives me an opportunity to be in relationship with the dimensions of myself. And to bring my attention inward and down and up, rather than the sort of horizontal phenomenon that so much community making and other things take me beyond myself. The solitude takes me into myself more deeply. And I absolutely need that. I absolutely need that in order to be well in the world. So those are some of the things that come to mind. Thanks for letting me share.
Yes, so as always, the weaving and the deeply curious and existing at intersections. And again, I'm hearing these nouns that are activated by something. Community, access, is the activator, which gives route for others to exist in authenticity, agency, and power. Um, Deeply curiosity, I'm sorry, because of the attractive nature of that activator, others then find themselves sitting in that space of wondering, existing in this intersection, which I really thought was interesting because placement as gift is also the activator of the being, right? So placement, our very placement where we are, not just in real-time social location, but in this environment, is a gift. Is not necessarily just something of happenstance, but also shows up as a gift and also shows up as the actionable thing because there's nothing to activate the placement other than the self and the awareness of such. So again, where I'm still playing with and hearing this play out of what is happening, how it is being activated, and then how it is contributing to the impact of the world around us. Rebecca, I don't know if you put your hand back up. Did you have more for us?
Adande, I'm good for now.
Okay, you left your hand up, so I didn't know.
Oh,
Sometimes when I get to go and I close my eyes, so when I opened it and I saw the little hand again, I didn't know. Okay,
no.
maybe. Okay. Um, and we're going to actually jump right into this kind of armor concept in a second. So start to think about the things that protect you. I'm loving this metaphor from Mo with the prism and light, and how again light comes in and it bends these facets, right? How something can both protect us outwardly, but also help to preserve us inwardly. So just play with and think some of those. Yeah, play with those and think some of those things while I kind of move us into our next part. 2700. 2,700. It was the number of protests that they had on record as happening yesterday across the nation. Protests of the craziness that has become our political dealings and climates these days, this year. I feel like a lot of me has felt like no matter what we do, we keep coming back to this thing, the state of our country and what will be and what can be and how we preserve self and community and our daily sense of safety. Uh, we've been doing this since, January, right? And rightfully so. There's fear that's been woven into this space and continues to pop up in crazy ways. We continue to be either directly or indirectly or bullied into fear on a regular basis because shit is crazy and that just is what it is, right? So this idea, this No King's Day, which struck me as hilarious, because I know we're talking about the current administration, and I know we're talking about authoritarian leanings, and I know we're talking about preventing a dictatorship, and I know we're talking about getting somebody out who already thinks that he's king of something beyond just his own mind. I know we're talking about these things, but in reality, this royalty of sense, right, is divine in nature, right? We can talk about King of Kings and you can flip that and say Queen of Queens or whomever is, whatever is that is rooted in the only source that says that we all must work together, that this must be, in fact, for the goodness and the greatness of all. So anything that is anti that cannot be a king, not to anyone and not to anything. So to say No King's Day was interesting to me. Now, I also don't find it a coincidence that yesterday was also Domestic Violence Awareness Day, specifically for Missouri. October is also Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and if if nothing else, this administration can definitely be considered a domestic violence situation. It is definitely something that is domestic and violent upon us. The strategies, the tactics, they're literally textbook. So when Delisha says, of course, I think that it's possible to do these things and we can simplify and there's access to everything. Yes, yes. Absolutely. And the only thing that's telling us something that is otherwise is, in fact, abusive, not just to individual communities, but to the whole of what is trying to live and breathe and be born again here in our society. Similar protests happened in June where about 5 million people came out, and I'm interested to see um, what the numbers are tracked at, especially since all of that happened before deploying military forces to so-called war against the enemy within, which again, people don't make slip-ups with the tongue, right? And there is not just power, but there is evidence in the tongue. The enemy within ain't got nothing to do with within this country and everything to do with within that man, but that's a topic for another day. Awareness is costly. It stretches the soul wide open. It makes every vibration visible, every wound audible. To awaken in an age of noise is to choose sensitivity in a world that rewards detachment. But awareness is not weakness, and it is not for the weak. It is the quiet strength of those who keep listening, even when silence would be easier. We are often taught to guard our hearts by hiding them. That is what makes the process maladaptive. When we shrink to protect ourselves by shrinking or assimilating, even to jump on the bandwagon, to hop in with the groupthink. We are taught that just moving with a flow of chaos makes sense than standing to begin to build the wall that fights against it. To believe in this proverbial melting pot that doesn't exist and trust these BS ideologies about US being post-racial, all while watching the masses become more and more complicit about the actuality of what's happening. True guardianship is not withdrawal, it's stewardship. Divine guardianship means tending to that which is important, like a sacred fire, protecting this flame without smothering the light, keeping it alive because it is sacred, tending to us because of our spiritual kinship. When we are talking about this awareness, everything that we have mentioned here, but of course, comes back to impact on community, how we are doing something collectively. The work of awareness is holy because it demands our participation. It demands our participation, our presence, our placement, our participation, our activation. Our ancestors understood this balance. They lived in the tension of resistance and reverence, of speaking truth while still singing hope. That's that optimism that some people want to villainize as naivete. It's not. It's a decision because I see what's happening and I choose to believe, like Kaylin said, I've seen it before. I'm remembering. So I'm reactivating. I'm re-engaging. This is some Care Bear stare type stuff. We gotta all get together and stare at the same time. We're gonna pull it together. Some people know that awareness without action becomes stagnation, and compassion without awareness becomes naivety. That's where our decision comes in. That's where the choice, that's where the willingness, that's where the activation happens. Both are dangerous when this world is unraveling. And this is what we have continuously called out. This is why we gather, not merely to learn, but to remember. To remember that our spirits are instruments, our gifts are tools, finely tuned to both grief and glory, and that is necessary. Consistent reminders that what we notice, we nurture. That what we bless with attention, we give permission to grow. And during times such as these, we must place even more sacred attention to our armor of awareness, to the practice of activation, to the collective notion of, I need your opinion and your vantage point too. I can't do this alone. I can't turn it all. I can't go from B to being by myself. We have to do this together. And collectively, like 2,700 spaces showed yesterday, it keeps us from being manipulated by illusions, whether spiritual, practical, political, or personal. Awareness steadies us when the narratives around us are crafted to distort our sight. Yes, I want to put somewhere in there intentionally crafted, and something about distortion being purposed, right? To distort our sight, which also serves to impact our vision on what is possible, right? The attempt is to further, it's not distract, but to keep our hearts away from the reality that freedom is possible. When everything is loud, awareness teaches us to listen from the undercurrent, to listen to the hums of spirit moving through confusion, to hear the whispers beneath the thunder. It teaches us to watch not only the spectacle of power, but the subtle exchange of energy within, among, and around us. To be aware is to live awake in your own body, in your own story, and the realities of the society around us. It is an invitation to ask, what frequencies am I amplifying? What energies am I absorbing? What harm am I unconsciously repeating? Awareness calls us back to the sacred question, what is mine to carry? What must I lay down? And what must I walk away from? It requires us to live in accountability, not just for what we do, but for the vibrations that we carry into every room, every interaction, and every system that we engage. This is the deeper meaning of guarding the heart, tending to what flows from it, our words, our attitudes, our influence. There's some mornings, like yesterday, when the sky itself seems exhausted. Not too dark, but not bright. Just suspended, like it's holding its own breath between the storms. And we too live in suspension, aware enough to sense the tremblings, the troublings that are occurring, yet tender enough to still hope that it might be healed, to still believe that the actions are impactful on the outcome. The sacred armor of awareness gives us the ability to be awake and vigilant in the midst of all of the craziness, even when the climate, the season, or a period of time presents itself to dismantle the universal truths embedded in our souls. One of the few things that I hold on to is that we've been here before. Octavia Butler says, all that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. Awareness alone will not save us. We can watch, name, analyze, get statistics on, and still remain bound to a system that some people were not, some people were willingly blinded to. That will still remain. We are not even a year in. But what frees us is the continuum, the momentum, the continuous nature of our awareness. When seeing becomes our constant doing, which becomes our steady knowingness, which becomes embedded embodiment. And Lord knows we are being tested. When every headline feels like an echo of ancient warnings, when we know that the words were stated over and over again, do you not see what's happening here? This is like stories that we've heard, that we've read, the written prophecies that were already predicted, and yet there are still those who ignore what is happening in the name of simply protecting power. Power will never save us, and power will never heal us. but our awareness can transmute the concept that healing is less than power, that community is less than the individual. We watch authority disguise itself as order, but somewhere deep inside, we know they only utilize righteousness as a disguise. They only wave religion to gaslight. And this is why our awareness must breathe. It must move from testimony, from just empathy, to engagement. When scripture speaks of armor, it is both calling us to war and calling us to presence. But these days, we don't need any more armor for domination. Instead, we need to put on armor for our discernment. It is for surviving the propaganda without losing the poetry of hope. We are surrounded by systems that want us numb, that reward ignorance, that feed on our fatigue. So the question is, how do we stay aware? How do we stay whole? Literally, those are our questions. How do we stay aware? And how do we stay whole? Miss Rebecca.
Thank you, dear sister. A couple of thoughts come to me. A couple of responses come to me in listening to your beautiful framing. The first is that awareness, while key in the change and transformation process, it is hard to engage that process with consciousness or intention without awareness, is really the first stage of that process, right? And that awareness does not mean acceptance and does not mean action. And so as we think about what the fuller frame is, if we are aware and we accept what we are aware of, then we are best positioned to act upon that awareness. So often the lag, though, comes because either there isn't awareness, perhaps there is ignorance, even if it is willful, right? Or there is awareness but not acceptance. It's like, when you look at the back of a pack of cigarettes and it says smoking is hazardous to your health. I think there are a few in our country who smoke who aren't aware that smoking is hazardous to their health, right? But that awareness doesn't necessarily mean that I accept that it will actually denigrate my own life. Right? I just do it occasionally, or I just do it for this reason or that. And I'm fit in other ways, and I'm right there. All these other things that might keep that awareness from turning into an action that is highest and best for me, which might be not smoking, right? And I say that because I've lived in this gap in my life between the being aware of something and the acting on what I'm aware of. I have been aware that I have needed to reset for quite some time, but it's only now that I'm doing so, right? That awareness and readiness are not the same thing, and awareness and acceptance are not the same thing, and it's a process. Awareness gets us started in that change process that Octavia Butler describes so eloquently and beautifully. But it needs other supports in order to engender the kind of positive action that brings about whatever it is we're seeking to bring about. The second thing that I wanted to just mention for a moment is that it feels to me like in emotional intelligence, right? When they focus on the self and the other, there's self-awareness, there's social awareness. It feels to me that one of these key awarenesses is the self-awareness, right? And so much of that I think came up in our discussions when you asked us, what are our gifts and what's our armor and all of the things to get us self-aware. But it feels like coming back to self-awareness is so important because otherwise we might default into the change process by primarily trying to get those people out there to do something different.
Mm.
Right. And when the most powerful things that we can do is we be the different, right? We be the different. And in being the different, then we are able to attract, spread, engage, connect, multiply the difference, which is is and we're able to do so authentically and and with an integrity that doesn't come when I'm like, y'all, smoking is hazardous to your health and y'all need to stop smoking. But let me take this little toke over here when I'm stressed. right, right, right. So because it feels to me like I see lots of if I let me say that one other way. So I might be out in the streets and doing the work that I do and challenging supremacy culture. And yet there are ways that supremacy culture is very much alive in me and very much being maintained in me. That better than and less than is being reinforced through my own actions. And that contributes to the whole and the ways that supremacy culture anchors and lives in the collective. And so to the extent that I lack that consistency, to the extent that I'm not engaging a change in the most fertile and potent place and space that I can, which is in me, then all my efforts to bring about awareness and action outside of me get constrained by that. And so this self-awareness piece becomes an even more integral part of awareness. Is my own awareness of, myself within the larger scheme of things. I don't know if that answers the question that you put to us, but those were the two things that was on my head and my heart, and so I'm sharing them today. Thank you.
No, I love definitely answered bits and pieces of I wrote one in particular that awareness is not just it's not just a key, but it is the first stage. But I think more importantly, the concept that awareness and readiness are not the same thing is important because that also helps with our compassion and empathy gifts that we bestow on the community to say, I understand that we may all be seeing the same thing. You may just not be ready to take the leap yet. You may not be ready. You may see what's happening, but something may be holding you back from making or activating a change, for leading into a community that is for your best and greatest self, as well as everybody else. And that's the part that becomes real sucky, right? I hear people that are like, okay, I've left this party or I've done this or I've changed my mind on this and I've come around, I've grown, I've developed, I've evolved, all of these things. And so we know that these things are possible. It's in that waiting period where there appear to be some fragmentation between what people are aware of and when they're actually ready to activate change. I think it's important. Uh, you also said that awareness doesn't mean that we will act accordingly. And I think that that goes for the collective too. Again, when we are um, willingly complicit and when we close our eyes to the truth, when we don't want to see what's happening around us. I legitimately cannot wrap my brain around how anyone in this country does not understand how expensive racism is. I genuinely do not understand how people do not understand that racism is expensive. Um, the way that we go about exerting power to restrict people and the fallout that comes from that. But awareness is not the same thing. So I see something and it feels like I'm aware of something and I'm willingly acting against it, right? But others who really legitimately cannot see, do not see, whether it is because they turn their back to, or because it favors them, because they've been caught up in the habit of action. Think about someone who smoked for however length of time, and it's part of their routine. In order to break a habit, you literally have to replace it with another one. You can't just make it disappear. We get stuck in these patterns of behavior. I'm acting like this because I've never stopped to think that anything else could be possible other than what I've been told, what I've been shown, and what I've chosen to believe thus far. And making that turn requires some incredible awareness, because it means that you trust and believe that there is something truthful beyond your own. The last thing that I wrote, Rebecca, based on what you said, was that awareness magnetizes authentic action. It fuels collective being. It is not just the first step, but it's the first necessary step. It is what creates the pool of connectivity. I see what you see what I see. Who else sees it like this? We're not trying to change the minds of anybody. I'm trying to gather as many folk that see. I want to be in relationship with as many folk that see not just what I see, but the ways of seeing. I hope you heard that, because there's difference. Not just what I see, but the ways of seeing. We may not always agree on exactly the things, but if we agree on some components, right? I want to have as many of this, as much of that energy around me as possible. And I want to be a part of as many of those communities as possible, so that that energy is what continues to grow. I'm feeding what I desire to grow. And I trust and believe, no matter who says it's naive, that love will always win. I believe that divinity will always win. I believe God always shows out. I believe that. I believe it. Delisha.
I love this discussion. I think it is hard because there's so much to be aware of, right? Like there is, from my perspective, I am aware that these people are taking us down the path of war towards death. That is the path that they're on. I feel aware that these white men are so afraid. They are scared little boys. They are afraid of losing their power. They are afraid of losing control. They don't know who they are without it. I'm aware that they have daddy issues. I'm aware that we who believe in liberation are really good at thinking about it more than practicing it. I'm aware that every day it's getting easier to numb out and to dehumanize people and to feel overwhelmed. I'm aware of what this stuff is doing to our nervous system and all of these things. And there's a way where it can be really overwhelming to be focused on all of it. And so I also think there's like a level of, I don't know what the word is, responsibility with our. I'm also aware of the power of our awareness, right? Like when people started talking about, I'm real mad that I did not know who Charlie Kirk was, and then now I know. Like I don't want my mind on that. I don't want my energy going towards that. I saw people on the left predicting that his wife is going to be VP, and I'm like, why are we speaking this into existence? So I think there's even a level of being really aware to the vision that these people are doing and getting so caught up in it that we are helping their vision manifest with our energy. And so I think it feels confusing and hard because it's like I want to be aware of all that's happening, but every day it's just, but I also don't want to be so hyper caught up in that stuff that I can't be aware of like spending my energy on the vision that I can see, that I want, the direction that I want, which is why I think this conversation of and then also what Rebecca said about self-awareness, I think that is so easy to be like victim and villain, or and to just externalize the problem versus looking internal to be like, what is our role, what is our contribution. So I think the question you started off with was about our gifts is so important, because even with all this awareness, I could my gift is not um I have a former student who her gift is de-escalating um white people who are getting radicalized into white supremacy. That's not my gift. That's not my, that's not my energy. My energy is not to help white people figure out, work through their fear. Um, and if I'm not aware of my gift, I can end up in so many different directions, right? And so being aware and like what I have to offer helps my awareness to have a channel, right? To say like, okay, I don't need to get caught up over there because I can see what's happening, but my attention needs to be over here. And I'm worried about how many people I'm seeing who are so aware that they're just like I have a group chat with my cousins, and it's just, and I get it every day. It's like, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening, this is, and I'm like, I know it, but and also in my mind, I'm like, every day the story of their vision seems really clear to me. We can see the path that they're going down, and they're just every day they're just taking us deeper down it. And so I wrestle with like, how aware do I need to be of their tactical steps, and how much of my attention do I need to pull towards my skill of visioning, my skill of like uh teaching, of writing, of creativity, to say, if my awareness is that this has many different outcomes, and one of the outcomes that I'm hoping for is that like it does not work because it is so fragile, am I prepared to offer what I'm supposed to offer into the world to support folks, or am I so caught up in looking at all their moves that I don't put my energy towards what I have to do? So yeah, yeah, it feels like a daily battle. I always think about how Carolyn one day said like 20% of our attention needs to go to them, and then the other 80% needs to go towards like liberation and trying to hold that, because I think people can get really caught up in like, I have to know everything, I have to be aware of everything, and then they get stuck and paralyzed, and their strategy of us feeling overwhelmed is working. So it's, yeah, yeah, that's what I got.
I feel so much of that from the start. There's so much to be aware of. Um, I love my mother, but my mother will sit here sometimes and watch the news all day long. And I come in and I'm like, could you put on a movie? What happened to the rom-coms that you love? Like, you cannot inundate your heart and your spirit with that consistently. There has to be um, something of joy to grasp and hold on to. My mom is a Hallmark fanatic, so and sometimes I'll just be like, hey, I'll just come in and say like, let's watch this instead because but but in keeping with what Carolyn says, this also comes from somebody who will binge watch Grey's Anatomy for a weekend. So, there's so much to be aware of, but the next thing you said that was incredibly, I don't know, prolific is to be aware of the power of our awareness. And underneath power, I also wrote influence of our awareness, and not just um on how we speak and what we are speaking into existence, or what we are feeding or looking up, because now we're giving clicks and we're giving likes and we're giving whatever, all of those things, but also the influence that it has on us, the more we listen, on what it takes to get some of that out of our spirit beyond us. And so underneath that, I wrote, maybe there's a sacred boundary of awareness that must be upheld. And I think that's what we're kind of coming to, right? It's important to know the things, but still control, choose what we are lending our awareness towards. I know that there are 1,000 different languages in the world. I'm only studying French. I'm only studying French because that's what I want to learn. That's my energy. In the past, I may have sprinkled some energy in some other languages, but I'm not out here trying to absorb every single language that there is possible, because that also would render me damn near useless in achieving what I desire in the direction of of my my goal. So I think protecting ourselves, preserving preserving ourselves by protecting what is allowed into ourselves or into our space is that boundary of awareness. Just because I know it's outside, don't mean I gotta go outside and join it. We know how uh scary movies go. Just because you hear something crazy in the forest, don't mean you got to grab a flashlight and go searching, because that might be inevitable death. Mo, and then Miss Carolyn.
Okay, so something that I'm like in the thick of right now is becoming aware of internalized ableism.
Mhm.
Um, and like all of like the past few weeks, I'm like, oh my, wow, like I am really coming into awareness of accepting what burnout looks like in my body and how long I've been burnt out. Like the trauma therapists keep asking, what's the event that happened? What's the event that happens? And I'm like, there's so many. And so with that, it's kind of been breaking my heart and also shifting my point of view of what I thought was. So for me, I'm thinking being productive and creative is like something that I want to do, but now I'm realizing, oh, but I'm rigid in those moments. That doesn't feel freeing, or um, oh, I'm not drinking water. And then I'm even thinking about like reframing what I think mania and being manic is. You know, because it's been celebrated. It's been celebrated. Like, oh, you did all these things. Good job. And so then I started thinking about my clinical brain was like, well, the stages of change, which is pre pre contemplation, action, maintenance, relapse. And then I'm like, okay, but what's missing in that? I'm like, community. Community is missing in that. Like community, you know, for better, for worse. I didn't get here on my own. I didn't burn out myself on my own. You know, I had influences that I thought was whatever. And then now I'm like, okay. Then I wrote down, I'm like, and I am worthy of my own gifts. So that's where I'm at right now. It's like all the gifts I just listed. Now I got to sit my butt down and interweave and knit those back into my being with the help of others. And that's really hard and it's really scary. And I'm really, 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 really proud of myself because when I want to go hide and when I'm feeling like, oh, I have a need, I'm like, hey, I really want to go hide right now. I just want to say hi. And now I'm going to go hide. So just like letting people know. But that to me is so scary. So that's what I'm rediscovering. And I just want to give myself grace and compassion and be around those who can also do that. That's all.
I love that. Um, for so many reasons. I, I'm hearing the like I just want to go hide, but like hide first, but I just want to go hide, and what it might mean to engage community while still respecting the need for solitude. I'm a hide. I, I guess I should say hider too. I'm a recovering hider. I don't know. I'm trying to move away from from isolating so much, but I still do it. It is something that feels protective and safe when the things happen. And because again, you mentioned how things that we think are constructive are not, but they're celebrated. Um, we are told that we're multitasking, and like that's great when really there's no such thing. um we're brought into hustle culture or the grind culture, people saying like I'll sleep when I dine, and all the while we're over functioning. It's a trauma response to something, and we're so used to being in that grind mode, we engage it as a means of escape, which just burns the candle out even faster, which makes you hide longer. When really, if somebody could be like, hey, yo, like, Donna, you doing too much this week. I'm gonna need you to sit down. Or you did too much last week. This week, you should probably take a break. Take a couple days for just you and then log back in. Something. So when you heard in the theory of change, when I heard you say what's missing is community, I'm like, yes. Because who's here sitting in this to evaluate it with me? Who's here calling me out, reminding me that I'm worthy of my gifts? Who's here holding me accountable, Carolyn, to my own frequencies? Who is giving this back to me and ensuring that I am willingly paying attention? Who is holding me to my own self-awareness and now my impact? Because if I, again, am depleted, what happens? I know what happens. The other day, I had worked so hard and so long. By the end of the day, I think I snapped on 3 people. It wasn't their fault. I was tired. I was hungry. And I had to go back and make some apologies because I was like, that wasn't for you. It wasn't for you. I was tired. I was mentally exhausted. And here you come asking me another question, but you ain't know that. And you were asking me a real simple question. I didn't have to snap like that. I did not have to bucket you. I was tired. I was hungry. My body hurt. All I wanted to do was lay down. I didn't want to talk to nobody. I barely wanted to chew. I think that was one of the nights that I fell asleep eating my dinner. So it wasn't for them. Who is going to say, hey, yo, check yourself. You need to be more aware of where you're putting your time and how you're investing your energy so that you don't do it to the point of depletion, so that you have something to contribute, so that you're not squeezing your gifts out until they're dry. Then you don't have to feel like you got to go and soak your sponge in water or spirit for 6 months without talking to nobody. Carolyn. Did Carolyn pop off? She did. Any other thoughts around that? Any other thoughts about how we protect ourselves?
Can you hear me? I said no.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So just one more thought that I wanted to share when listening to you all talk about, you might, like Delicia's, like there's so many things to be aware of, and you saying, we don't necessarily want to tie too much of our awareness or attention to things that might be depleting. It makes me think about the saying, that the pray without ceasing, right? Pray without ceasing. There's something there about where do we place our awareness, right? Where do we place our awareness? It is true that there are always things that are happening in our physical world, in our social, political, economic settings that are impacting our lives and our life experiences. It is also true that there is simultaneously coexisting a spiritual realm of which we pay little attention and have often less awareness, that is always intersecting and indeed is the foundation in many ways, if not in all ways, for the material existence that we have. And when I come at that saying, pray without ceasing, at this stage of my life, what I'm hearing is instruction to attune to the wider set of forces and dynamics that are colluding and conspiring with us in this life. And in part so that we may engage and use and wield them and be shaped by them. so that our encounters with, in this case, what you've been describing as oppression and over againstness, our encounters are coming at a different level. It's like the master's tools will not dismantle the master's house. Or Harriet somehow manages to get people to freedom and not lose anybody while she's conducting them, but she loses consciousness frequently, right? And in those blackouts, in those spells that she has, she gets instructions and downloads on how to move and how to navigate within the terrain of over againstness, within the space of being hunted, and not be prey, Prey.
Mhm.
So I want to call that back because it feels like there's a need for deeper practice, and that pray without ceasing is an invitation to practicing spiritual awareness with devotion, and not as bypass, right? Because the spells didn't get Harriet out from going into plantation life regularly, where she was hunted and bringing people out and not being hunted. There wasn't deliverance by way of circumstance, but it opened her up to a greater set of gifts, Adande, a greater set of faculties and competencies. She had more tools in the toolkit, right? And she had a much deeper understanding and much clearer sense of direction and purpose. And so when I talk about self-awareness, in many ways, I'm talking about awareness and attunement to that, to these other aspects of being and existence. And quite honestly, these other aspects of our power. Not so that we can get out of the complications of this existence, but so that we may meet them fully equipped, enabled, and capacitated, rather than reduced, divided, and sort of, I don't know the other language, but where we get confused about our sovereignty as agents of creation and agents of life.
Mhm.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm certain I'm going to play with this kind of awareness plus attunement, and the access that yields. But the other part of that, pray without ceasing, says rejoice always, pray without ceasing, and something about giving thanks. So when you say that it's an invitation to practice spiritual devotion, not simply as bypass, but consistently, like I'm hearing that because it's engaging. And again, when we spoke earlier in session, speaking about like the things that we're doing and what is activating them into motion, into flow. That's what I'm hearing. It's the rejoice, it's the praising, right, of where we are, which also mentioned or brings us back to you mentioning this simultaneous spiritual realm that we don't necessarily give awareness to or lend our awareness towards. So to rejoice in that there's already something that is happening that is mystical and magical and divine and beyond us, just to lend a little bit of our awareness to know that somewhere, somehow, some things are moving without our even having to do anything to make them happen. And then to pray without ceasing, to activate, to engage our gifts, our energies, our awareness of our awareness of power, and then to bring in this attunement piece. We're formulating something here. We're piecing together. I don't know. It feels like a warm hug actually, but I'm thinking more like a quilt, right? How they would sometimes even in braids, but in fabric, um, uh, uh, craft routes towards freedom. We are in some ways doing that with what we know, how we're gonna get not even get out of this mess, but how to not be caught up in the craziness and rest in the knowingness that we are truly protected. Um, by community, by our gifts, with our awareness, and with this armor. I'm going to pause there before I move on to something else. Any other thoughts? Carolyn, did you still want to jump in? No, okay. I'm only going to mention a little bit. I'm not going to take y'all through the whole thing. But when Paul was writing this particular letter to the Ephesians, the scripture that I'm coming from is Ephesians 6:10 through 18. I think I'm starting to see him, but it's the armor of God. He's not speaking to soldiers. He's talking to the community. He's not talking to people who are ready and prepared for war. He's talking to those who are weary and disillusioned, who are losing their faith, who are surrounded by an empire that is affecting them, and yet they're trying to hold on to their belief. He's talking to us, those who walk each day in the shadow of systems that demand compliance, and call it peace. And the text begins by saying, "Be strong in the Lord," not strong in ego or your power or pride, but I'm going to change Lord and say, "Be strong in community. Be strong in the collective. Be grounded and rooted in the love that brings like minds together." There's strength here. There's something else rooted and deeper than the politics that exist outside of the door. It's a strength that remembers where humanity comes from. It's a strength that says you are not powerless. You are my reflection. You're not a reflection of what's happening out there or to you. You are my reflection. You are a reflection of divinity. So when scripture says put on the whole armor of God, it's not asking us to go into battle. It is asking us to be aware, to activate our awareness. The greater conflict or the greatest conflict is not in what is happening, but it is the war in spirit. It is the war that we face between faith and faithlessness, belief and our disbelief. Our ability to stay tender in times that often reward, well, Momo said, over functioning or hustle culture. I'm gonna just say complacency, blindness. We are seeking to war for our imagination, for clarity, for moral clarity, for our ability to hold on to optimism, even in a world that is cruel, to stand in the belief of light, even when everything seems so dark. This concept of armor has been, I'm not going to say misunderstood, but I think that there's a different way for us to think about it. It's not something to make us hard. It's not something to defend against others. We're not using our armor against folk. Our armor makes us holy. The armor of God is a beautiful, holy boundary that protects our soul from disillusionment, from corruption. It insulates while also activating. It helps us to breathe better. Um, it's like wearing those masks or putting a filter in your AC. It makes the air a little bit cleaner. It makes what comes into your space a little bit more pure, when sometimes we mistake meekness for weakness, um, and think that if we're too gentle, it means that we are in agreement or surrendering to something. But this is calling us to a different kind of power, one that may not cause an earthquake, but its presence can't be denied. Um, it is not it is not armor in the sense that it is a firearm or a specific sword. It is more like an adornment of jewels, something that creates an aura of light and protection around us. We are clothed in it, so we may bask in it. Awareness without discernment can breed bitterness. And awareness without discernment requires prayer. I'm trying to decide if I want to go, how much further I want to go. There are 6, some may say 7, pieces of armor that are spoken in this particular scripture. And I want us to consider, but I think I'm just going to put this in an email, but I want you to consider what they might look like now. For me, the belt of truth became awareness of knowing. The breastplate of righteousness became our integrity. The gospel of truth became our witness and testimony. The shield of faith became our holy boundaries. The helmet of salvation becomes our divine crown. And the sword of God, which is simply the word of God, becomes the voice of liberation, our collective voice of liberation. I want you to think about the ways in which you activate protecting the parts of you that are guided by your awareness. When someone says something to you, when you hear things that are coming at you, what is the guard? I believe Sally earlier said, music, because you can't do both. I love audiobooks, and I've actually gotten into fiction. I used to only read nonfiction, but I love audiobooks because you cannot focus on the words and think at the same time. You will inevitably stop one to do the other. Your brain does not function in that manner. What are we putting on? What are we telling ourselves to combat and contradict what is being presented to us? When we need to remember that the fight is righteous, what are we holding on to? How are you walking daily? How is your life a living testimony for what is possible, what it looks like to hold on to optimism and possibility, grounded in love, no matter what you're aware of? What they call it a couple of years ago, being delusional. How can we be spiritually delusional? And this boundary of awareness, our belief that cradles us with room to grow. How are we tending to that space? How do we protect that ability? How do we continue to convince ourselves that this radical possibility is exactly what is being asked of us, is the exact state of being that we are called into is the exact thing that fuels communal collectivity. Awareness is always going to look like, or activating our awareness is always going to look like this. Our wonderings, our curiosity, our leaning in, our listening, our engaging, but also our moments of tuning in and turning in. Our quiet time, as much as it is being intellectually knowledgeable. Our creative time, as much as it is, I don't know, doing something professional. The time that we spend to move our body with water or with music, as much as it is that we spend our bodies or utilize our bodies to protect the collective. It's always going to look like us showing up for self and others. It's going to look like getting out of our heads and into action. It's going to look like us making conscious and intentional actions based on our awareness. We are equipping ourselves, and by doing that, we equip others to learn how to stand firm, how to be solid, decidedly so, how to see the world clearly and choose how we will perceive it. That is what the armor of God gives us. It is the gift of intentionality, the gift of choice, the gift of alignment, the gift of our willingness. And it is our ability to give that back to the world. I will pause here, acknowledging the time. Any last thoughts before we hear? We got a quick little 1-minute song. Any last thoughts before we listen to a song and I close us out? Okay, Miss Tasha.
Adonde,
Yes, Eileen.
I just want to say that this conversation and the words you're sharing has been like a healing balm for what I needed to hear about protection and inner and outer awareness. And I'm just soaking it all in. So I just wanted to share that appreciation of yeah.
Thank you so much for that. I'm glad that it was what you needed today. Miss Tasha, we play our last song.
We are the healers. We came to heal it all with our divine light. We are the leaders. Unite. We came to lead them all to their divine light. We have awakened, woke up ready to fight. We came to raise the vibe and bring shadow to light. We are the healers. Healers unite. We came to heal it all with our divine light.
As we prepare to go from this space, remember that awareness is not heaviness, it is holiness. It is a sacred act of staying awake when you'd rather sleep through a world that is unraveling. The armor that we wear is not for war, but for witness, for testimony. It is the quiet strength of those who surrender their light rather than embrace the loudness of fear. I hope this week you move forth, allowing your truth to steady you, letting your faith shield you from despair, letting peace move through you like or with every breath that you breathe, straightening your crown with clarity daily, using your voice, your word, your prayer, your protest, your energy, your awareness to make space for love and your presence everywhere. We thank the ancestors as always for joining us in this space. We pray that they are proud and continuously served and in service by us. May the boundless inclusion of love from the Creator beyond all earthly names and forms be with us now and forever. And let the unspoken desires of our hearts be known to the divine. May they be fulfilled for the greater good of all. These things and all things in our hearts we ask in honor of the Most High. Ashe and amen. Thank y'all for sticking it out a little bit beyond one. You know, I'm not the one to necessarily travel beyond that 1 o'clock mark. But we really could have gone so much further. However, if we don't, we'll be here until like 4 or 5. So come off of mute and greet the room. The sun is shining. I'm pretty sure the temperature dropped yesterday. I think we're officially making our turn into fall. Maybe we'll have a little bit of fall. And not just go into winter. Who knows? Last year, we really only had fall and like 3 days of winter. I don't know. Let's see. It's interesting these days, these times. Come off of mute and greet the room.
Thank you, Adande.
Thank you, Donde. Thank you, everybody.
Donde, thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful
Thank you.
day.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
Dante. Love
Happy
you all.
Sunday, everybody.
Love you all.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.